playoff hopes hanging by a thread, the NFC North brewing with tension, and the ghosts of Barry Sanders' elusive prime and Calvin Johnson's sudden retirement still haunting every Detroit fan's dreams. The Lions stand at a crossroads. Will they fold under pressure like in that brutal 0-16 season or push into the postseason with a spark last seen in last year's powerhouse surge? As the deadline came and went without blockbuster trades, Detroit fans were left desperately scanning the horizon for any sign of life in the front office. Can this squad patch the gaps fast enough? Or will the rivals, the grinding Vikings, the still dangerous Packers, and the gritty Bears steamroll right over them, just like seasons past? The defense was gashed, the special teams caught flat-footed, and the silence after the trade deadline was deafening. The big question, is Detroit losing its edge or quietly setting the groundwork for a late-season comeback? This is Lions News Fan Report, bringing the pulse of the Motor City Gridiron as raw as the roar of Ford Field on a cold Sunday night in Honolulu Blue. Hit subscribe and join the pro. Grind this team's fight isn't for the faint of heart, and neither is our coverage. Wednesday brought that spark, the kind that fans feel in their bones when a move is made that's more about hunger than hype. The Detroit Lions called linebacker Ty Summers up from the practice squad, slotting him back onto the active roster. This isn't just a roster shuffle. Summers returns to fill the void left by Christian Mahogany, who went on injured reserve after a chest injury upended the offensive line depth chart. Summers' journey this season reads like a Detroit grind. Signed, released, sent to the practice squad, then back again. The speedy linebacker, a seventh-round pick by Green Bay in 2019, has played in 86 NFL games, logging 90 tackles mostly on special teams and a handful of defensive snaps. This season, he's barely seen the field, just 3 games and over half the special team snaps, no defensive time. But after the Vikings pulled one over the Lions in a frustrating 27-24 loss, where both critical defensive errors and special teams miscues sank Detroit, Summers' return might be more than just depth, it could be a needed jolt. Head coach Dan Campbell didn't mince words, accepting responsibility for a team caught flat-footed right after a bye week. Special teams continues to be a volatile spot, one where momentum swings can decide games, and Summers, known for his speed and versatility, is a chess piece aimed at shoring that up. With the Lions gearing up this week against a Washington Commanders squad, now scrambling after starting, QB Jaden Daniels suffered an elbow injury. The spotlight on Detroit's ability to capitalize intensifies. Summers may be the unsung fix, a player poised to inject speed and toughness into coverage units where the Lions have stumbled. Beyond Summers, the front office moved decisively on 2 preseason injuries that had long stalled potential contributors. Offensive tackle Justin Herron and tight end Kenny Yeboah were both released after spending months on injured reserve. Yeboah, in particular, was pegged to be a cornerstone of the blocking scheme, a vital piece to Ben Johnson's offense before a knee injury in the Hall of Fame game sidelined him. Losing Herron and Yeboah opens roster spots, but also scope for younger players hungry to prove their worth, a recurring theme under Campbell's culture of relentless competition. Why does the Ty Summers move resonate beyond mere numbers? Summers embodies grit, speedy, versatile, and used mostly on special teams where games are won or lost by inches and instincts. Detroit's defensive backfield has felt the heat this year. Linebackers have been shuffled, and injuries strained depth. Adding Summers signals a willingness to lean on a player who can contribute to the often overlooked but essential facets of the game. Special teams was the very phase that handed momentum to the Vikings last Sunday, and Summers' reemergence may mark a strategic pivot, control the game's unsung moments, and tip the balance. This alignment fits Campbell and offensive coordinator Ben Johnson's ethos, a team that must survive with smart, gritty plays, maximizing every snap. Summers' presence doesn't just fill a spot vacated by Mahogany. It shifts the balance of who gets opportunities on special teams. It puts pressure on the roster bubble players while signaling Campbell's readiness to plug and play players he trusts. If Summers can transition into some defensive reps, this could add a dynamic layer to a Lions defense still hunting for consistency in the NFC North, where every turnover or big special teams play can decide division standings. For fans who've seen the Packers slowly rebuild with savvy depth signings and the Vikings' never-ending pressure at the linebacker spot, this move is Detroit's answer. No glitz, no glam, just hustle and heart. Ford Field is going to need this energy, the kind that makes a crowd stand, roar, and refuse to leave their feet until the final whistle. Every snap counts. The roar of the crowd hasn't once betrayed this team yet, even after long years of heartbreak. Now, with Summers back on the active roster, the Lions signal they haven't forgotten what it takes: speed, versatility, and the will to scratch and claw through every minute left on the schedule. Now, Lions faithful, here's the kicker. Does Ty Summers becoming a Lion again signal a deeper blueprint for this year's playoff push? Can Campbell's squad turn this deficit into a defining run? Or are we looking at another chapter of near misses? Is Summers the kind of unsung warrior who carries the locker room when the chips are down, embodying the relentless Detroit grit that, let's be honest, has kept us loyal even through the 0-16 nightmare and the gut punch of Calvin's exit? Drop your take below. Does this speedster's return fire up your hope, or just remind you that maybe the Lions aren't ready to close the gap on our division rivals? Because in this city, every move matters, and every snap could be the one that either breaks the curse or deepens. This is no small gamble. It's a raw, gritty attempt to harness speed and versatility when the stakes are at their highest. Summers' return could tip the scales in special teams battles that have haunted Detroit all year, those tiny, game-changing moments that decide division standings and playoff destiny. If the Lions can get just enough push from this under-the-radar move, maybe they avoid sinking into another near miss. But if it flops, the whispers will grow louder. Has Detroit truly learned from its past? Or is history repeating itself? Coaching indecision, roster stagnation, broken trust with the fan base? The clock is ticking, and every snap carries the weight of the city's hopes. This isn't just about a linebacker. It's about whether this team can finally shake the ghost and carve a legacy that screams resilience, Honolulu blue for the ages. Adding Summers could dramatically reshape special teams dynamics, giving Detroit someone with speed, instinct, and the grit to make those critical tackles and coverage plays. With Mahogany on IR, the Lions need a spark on the second level. Summers' versatility makes him a prime candidate for blitzes, coverage, and situational snaps, potentially elevating the entire defensive unit. But it's also a statement. Detroit's front office is betting their chips on grit over glitz, on hustle over hype. A slow start, however, could make this look like an empty move rather than a turning point, giving rivals even more motivation to attack the Lions' weaknesses. The Vikings already exploited Detroit's secondary with precision passing, stealing momentum in last week's gut-wrenching loss. Meanwhile, the Packers, who recently re-signed some key linebackers, are quietly gaining confidence, while the Bears' young defense is hungry for a statement win. This move, focused on speed and special teams, aims to ensure Detroit doesn't get outworked again. But it's a gamble. The division is unforgiving, and without decisive moves, Detroit risks becoming just another team circling the drain as the postseason slips further out of reach. But in this game of inches, Summers might be that secret weapon that shifts the narrative if he's ready. Honestly, I'm fired up but also cautious as hell. We've seen flashes of brilliance from this team, but it all feels like a house of cards waiting to fall flat if we don't get these last-minute moves right. I want to believe in Campbell's grit, in those Lions who never back down. But man, if this season ends with us standing still, it's a gut punch. We spent years crawling out of the dark, only to stumble at the finish line again and again. So, yeah, when I see Summers back out there, it's a spark. But I want to see Detroit finally take the damn leap. No more excuses, no more near misses. It's now or never, that's the truth. The front office has to make a move, no half measures, or we're just treading water in a sea of what-ifs. This city's roar echoes at Ford Field time to unleash the pride, to show the league what Motor City grit really means. The pride fights on, and this team has one last shot to etch our name in the storybook. So Lions Nation, get ready, because when the clock runs out, only the fearless will still be standing, proving that in Detroit, we fight till the bitter end. This isn't just football, it's our heartbeat, our legacy. Are you in?